Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. We're going to get started in just a minute. We do have a special guest today, Steve Strauss. He is the senior small business columnist for USA Today, the best-selling author of the Small Business Bible, and an entrepreneur who runs the great site, theselfemployed.com. He's going to take us through marketing on a shoestring, and I know you guys are all excited about this. Before I hand it over to Steve, I am going to just say a couple things. First of all, the webinar will be about 45 minutes long. At the end, there will be time for Q&A, and I'm sure you guys have lots of questions. I know there's some in there already. As you think of questions, go ahead and type those into the box that you see in your GoToWebinar window, and we'll be happy to answer those at the end of the webinar. One of the questions that I know you're dying to ask, because you guys ask this at every webinar, is this being recorded? And the answer is yes, we are recording this. We will have this up on the Vertical Response resources page probably by Friday. We usually get it up a couple days after. The easiest way to get there is to go to our website and then click on the resources tab, and you'll see the recorded webinars. It's free, so you can watch it again. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Steve. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Jill, great to be here. Thank you so much. And
I'm going to pass
there we
this
go.
over.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Very good. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm really appreciative of my friends at Vertical Response. Sorry, we're having a little technical difficulty. There we go.
There.
How's that? And happy to be here. And this is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, marketing on a shoestring. I've not had a boss myself since 1994. And a lot of the techniques I'm going to share with you today are ones that I have tried in my own business. I've started 3 businesses since then. 2 successfully, 1 not as successfully, and that is the nature of entrepreneurship. And so I grew up in a small business household, talked about marketing a lot, and one of the things I love most is to help small businesses grow their business, and especially grow their business without spending a lot of money, right? Because that is what one of the issues we often all deal with is, not enough time, not enough money. And so the good news is that especially today, there are all sorts of great ways to market your business that don't cost a lot of money. And what we're going to start with is some shoestring marketing ground rules, because you have to do these things right if we're going to do it. So there's a difference between shoestring marketing and traditional marketing. With shoestring marketing, you're not going to spend as much money, but what you are going to do is target your dollar that you spend, the efforts that you put out, much more efficiently than with traditional marketing. So traditional marketing, you can put an ad in the newspaper and hope so the right people see it, back in the day, or put an ad on television. Some people see it, some people buy from you, some don't, that kind of thing. That's not what shoestring marketing is. Shoestring marketing means you're going to find out what your customers read, watch, listen to, where they go online, what their habits are, and then you're going to target your money to that spot. Right? Doesn't that make a lot of sense? So instead of spending a lot of money and hoping and shooting a wide, vast net, you're going to spend less money on targeted areas. Now, I have this question here. What do you have to do? You have to solve a problem. If you're going to do any kind of marketing, you're going to get people to pay attention to your marketing. Well, then you have to solve a problem. So, for example, why do I buy a drill? I don't buy a drill because I need a drill. I buy a drill because I need what? A hole, right? That's right. You have to solve the problem for the person, and your tool is just how you're going to help solve it. Why do I buy flowers? Well, that's why I buy flowers, because I like to see, a smile on my wife's face. That's the problem that's solving. Flowers are nice and they're pretty, and that's all good. But what I really want you to think about is how you're going to solve that problem for somebody, and what your marketing is going to do to solve someone's problem. Because if you do that, they're going to check you out. If you're just putting your name out there without a great call to action, as we're going to talk about, without something compelling that you're fixing for somebody or that they need, then they're not going to pay attention. And with so much noise out there today, we've got to get them to pay attention. I also hear at number 4 say, try out many weapons. And what I mean by that is I'm going to give you a dozen different ways to market your business. And, none of them cost too much. So try out 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. See which ones work, and then roll those out, and you're going to have a whole new way of getting in front of a whole bunch of new people and new eyeballs. And that's what we love. Now, I have this delicious-looking pizza here to remind us that as you do your shoestring marketing, you've got to be prepared for the onslaught, hopefully, of new customers that might come your way. So, for example, Groupon was a really big thing for a long time, and not as much today. Why is that? Because so many customers came into a new store when somebody would do a discount Groupon deal that maybe the store wasn't ready, and they lost the new customers and the old customers. The pizza reminds me of a client I once had who we did a PR campaign for, and I'm going to talk about PR here in a second. He wanted to get his name better known without spending a lot of money, so we put out some press releases back in the day. Again, got some attention. Finally, we had the restaurant critic for the local paper come in one day and review the place and loved it. And on a Friday morning, that paper came out with a stellar review of this guy's restaurant. What he wasn't prepared for was the onslaught of people that came in his door. There was a line going around the block. People had to wait an hour and a half. By Saturday, they had run out of dough. They didn't have enough waiters and waitresses prepared for the weekend, and he lost a great opportunity. So hopefully, we're going to have that kind of success with these shoestring marketing ideas. But what I do want to say is, be prepared for growth if you're going to grow. That's what we want, right? All right, so we're going to look at a dozen different ways to grow your business. And we're going to start with some media shoestring ideas. Then later on, we're going to go into, after that, some online ideas and some one-on-one ideas, because all of them have different attributes. Some do good things better than others, and we'll look at them all. So one of my favorite things ever is co-op advertising. Like many people who are in business for themselves, I grew up in a small business family. My dad owned a series of carpet stores in Southern California, and in fact, his business got so big he didn't like it, and he sold out to his partner, and he ended up with one giant carpet warehouse. And he had a billboard on the San Diego freeway in LA, and if you've ever been down there, you know what a busy freeway that is. Hundreds of thousands of people a day, if not more, driving up and down that freeway. And he had a giant billboard, kind of like this Tempur-Pedic one here, and it said Carpet World, elegance underfoot, and then in the corner it said featuring Ban Lawn Carpets. That's a very expensive advertising and marketing source, typically, except when we go the shoestring route. And what is the shoestring route? Well, that is co-op advertising. Ban Lawn paid for at least half of that ad for my dad because he mentioned Ban Lawn Carpets in the ad, in the billboard. Now here we have Tempur-Pedic, now available at mattress discounters. You can bet that Tempur-Pedic paid for the lion's share of this ad for mattress discounters. So there's all sorts of ways you can use this idea of getting your wholesalers, your suppliers to help pay for your ads. So for example, here's a co-op in action. On the left, we see here a motor scooter store, right? And there's two different locations in the bottom featuring Yamaha, right? And what I'm saying is Yamaha pays for a lot of this ad. And you can use co-op advertising online. You can use it offline. You can use it in the newspaper if that's still your thing. You can use it in the radio, television. You see it on television all the time. So co-op stands for cooperative, right? It's a cooperative effort between you and your wholesaler. And the number is $30 billion. $30 billion typically is available every year for co-op advertising. So what you do is you talk to your supplier, ask them, your wholesaler, whoever it is that you work with a lot, whose products that you carry in your store, if you are a retail store. Obviously, if you're a service business, you're a lawyer, a doctor, accountant, something like that, little harder to do co-op. There's a retail idea. But you speak with your supplier or your media rep, and you ask them if they have a co-op plan. And you just might find that they do. And if they don't, you might want to suggest that they have one. Typically what you do is you're going to place the ad. You're going to find out what their requirements are. If they do have a system for co-op ads, how they want their ad placed, that kind of thing. And then you'll apply for a reimbursement. So they reimburse you for the cost of the ad. But it's still, even if they don't pay up front, a pretty great way to get some advertising, right? We love that. Okay, number 2, never pay the rate card. So it's kind of like Fight Club. What's the first rule of Fight Club? We don't talk about Fight Club. Well, the first rule of rate card is we never pay the rate card. And the second rule is we never pay the rate card, and the third rule is, yes, we never pay the rate card. So what's the rate card? Well, when you go to a radio station, when you go to a website, when you go to a television station, any media outlet, they will have what is called the rate card, which is what you're expected to pay for an ad on their place. Now, the rate card is like this Honda sticker that you would see on a brand new car. Would you ever pay the sticker price on a car? Well, of course not. Nobody pays the sticker price unless you've never bought a car before. And that's the same idea here with rate card. The rate card, you can think of it as the sticker price for the media outlet. Now, it also, let's have the quiz and then I'll make a point. So the quiz is, guess how much cushion is built into the published rate card, 10%, 30%, or 45%. The answer is number 2, 30%. Typically, there's 30% of room to wiggle with on the rate card. So that's quite a bit of savings. Now, it also depends on when you're trying to advertise. Is it a busy time of year or not? So if you're a retailer, again, for example, and you're looking to advertise in December, you're not going to find anyone who's going to negotiate the rate card, right? Because we know about supply and demand. But typically in a normal month, in the middle of the year, you're going to find that your various advertisers are going to give you a rate card, and if you can talk to them as opposed to pointing and clicking and agreeing, you're going to find there's going to probably be some wiggle room, some negotiation possibilities on the rate card. So that's pretty great. Remember the rules of rate card, which is we don't pay the rate card rate. Number 3, buy Remnant Space. So I mentioned my dad's carpet stores, and here are a bunch of carpet remnants. And again, we're talking about media now, mass media advertising, ways to save money with mass media advertising. So what is a piece of remnant carpet like this? Well, that's the end of the carpet roll that they couldn't sell, and they tie it up and they sell it for big discounts, at the end of the store. And we've all seen these before. Some of us have seen them more than others. But the same is true with mass media, advertising outlets like a radio station, like a television station, like a website, have advertising space, like a newspaper, wherever you might advertise. And they don't always sell all of it. In fact, often they don't sell all of it. And the unused ad time or space is like a remnant piece of carpet. It's unused. And if they don't sell it, then they lose it. Think about a television station, for example. If they don't sell some 30-second spot tomorrow, well, then they're going to put in some other kind of public ad, something like that, or they're not going to use it at all. They're going to replace someone else's ad. So they're going to discount that 30-second spot tomorrow if they haven't sold it today hugely, and that's their remnant space. So if you check out with different advertisers on their ad deadline times about the remnant space, you can get, well, how much can you get off? Let's take a look. Here's an example on the left from the Washington Post. Okay, remnant rate advertising is sold on a space available basis at 40% off the regular rate. How cool is that? So if you have a business that for whatever reason lends itself to newspaper advertising, and you're in Virginia or Washington, you want to advertise in the Post, 40% off, that's hard to beat. Or on the right, I had this thing I once found called the Alaska State Vacation Planner. And I don't like to read bullet points, but this one's kind of important. So let the bidding begin for the second annual Remnant Space ad sale for the official Alaska State Vacation Planner. So some planning book that they put out. This is an opportunity to position your business in front of 450,000 people. And the last bullet point, take this one-time opportunity to test a display ad of up to 75% off. Wow, 75% off because they didn't sell all their ads in this thing. So the idea is this. Look at the different advertising sources out there that you might want to market in, that you might want to advertise in. Figure out when their ad deadlines are and talk to them about Remnant Space. It's an idea that doesn't get a lot of attention, but sure can save you a lot of money. All right, number 4 in the media space is overnight radio, one of my favorite things in the world of shoestring marketing. So radio is a great way to advertise a lot of businesses because people still listen to the radio. Even in this era of podcasting, you're in the car, what do you listen to? You listen to the radio. You're at work, what do you listen to? You listen to the radio. At least that's true for a lot of small businesses. So it's a great B2B vehicle. Now, if you advertise on the radio on a main station in the middle of the day during drive time, say, you're going to pay a ton of money. You can pay $750 a minute. You could pay more than that if you're in New York or LA or San Francisco or Chicago, something like that. So the alternate idea is to advertise when they have a smaller audience, which is overnight, say 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And you say to yourself, why the heck would I want to advertise at midnight, Steve? And my answer to you is if you pick a big radio station in your area, their overnight numbers are going to be comparable to daytime numbers for a lot of smaller stations in your area. So that's pretty great. And how much are you going to pay? You're going to pay $25 a pop. You can run a ton of ads. You can test new ads. You can try new ads. If you get a couple new customers out of something like that, well, it's well worth it and you didn't spend a whole lot of money. So here's a couple of ideas that I have learned over the years that really work with overnight radio advertising. One is pick the right station. And I think talk stations, weird to say. Now, you might say, but my demographic lends to music, and if that's true, that's true. But all we know is if you're listening to a music station and you hear an ad come on, what happens? Typically, you'll change the station. Not always, but often, because you're wanting to listen to music. Whereas if you're on a talk station and you're hearing talk and you hear an ad come on, well, it's just more talk. So people tend to click away less when you're on a talk station. Number 2, it's kind of like the rule of rate card. Repetition is the key. Repetition is the key. Repetition is the key. So I'm going to ask you guys, what is the key? I can hear you. Right, repetition. Repetition is the key. You have to play the same ad over and over and over again for people to hear it. Often they have to hear it 6 times before they actually hear it. And if you look at the last bullet point here, what's it say? We'll leave the light on for you. Now, what is that ad? You know what it is. It's Tom Bodett and Motel 6, and we've all heard it 1,000 times. And why do we know it? Because we've heard it 1,000 times. So if you do the same ad again and again and again, if you do it overnight on the radio, you're going to get a response. You're going to get people to come into your business, and you find the right station, the right program overnight. You can not spend a lot of money, but get a lot of business, and that's what we love, right? Okay, number 5, and the last of the mass market ideas, and that is PR, public relations, right? So PR is incredible. If you get a radio station or a website or a newspaper site like my USA Today site, either the paper or the website or TV station, wow, how great would that be? To do a story about your business, that is about the most fantastic shoestring marketing idea of them all, the most powerful. 1, you're getting into mass media. 2 is it's independent third-party verification that you have a great business, right? You have a TV station, and they got to fill their news every day. They're doing, the news at 4, the news at 5, the news at 6. They got a lot of news stories that they got to do. So if you want to help them, you can help, feed their voracious appetite for news by giving them a great story. So what is a great story? Well, a story is not, hey, I've got a really cool business, and you should do a story about my business because I write a weekly column for USA Today. Someone pitches me that. People pitch me that all the time. My job is not to give them free press, right? My job is to find something interesting and unique and different and new to share with my readers that I think they're going to find interesting and entertaining and might learn something, right? And that's true for really any news source. So your job is to make your business into that story. So dog bites man is not a story, right? Because that happens all the time. But man bites dog is a story. So how do you do it? So here's my 6 steps that I think works best. First, you want to make it personal. You want to find the right reporter or editor or producer who does stories about whatever it is your angle of your business is going to be. So let's say you're in Florida and you have a dive shop. Maybe you're going to do a dive out to a sunken ship that no one's ever been to before, that someone just found, or whatever it is. You come up with a different angle. That's kind of interesting. And so you're going to pitch that. You're going to find out who writes about recreation in your area, for example. So you're going to find their email address, and you're going to know who you're pitching. You're going to know who you're writing to, and you're going to write. Let's say you want to write about small business, and you want Steve Strauss. This is just to give you an example, to write about your small business. So you're going to get my email address because it's readily available, and you write an email to me, and you have a nice little subject line because you're not going to send me a press release, and I'll show you why in a second. You're going to say, hey, Steve, I've read your Ask an Expert column. I really think it's great. That article you wrote recently about blah, blah, blah was really interesting. And, right, so you stroke the person's ego a little bit. I'm telling you, it doesn't hurt. And you let the person know that you know their beat. And then you give them a unique angle or hook, something newsworthy to say. And you make it short and snappy because people, everyone's busy these days. Everyone's almost too busy these days. And I probably get 4 or 5 pitches a day. I probably bite on 1 a month. So you have to make it really unique and different and follow up, and follow up. But don't be a nudge. So there is a fine line there. Here's what not to do. So I mentioned press releases. Many people were taught, well, you just want to write a press release, the who, what, where, when, and how of what you're doing. And so, this is like a typical one I might get that I would not pay any attention to. Hello. So first of all, it's not Dear Steve, it's hello. Why would I pay attention to it? For your editorial consideration, please see the press release below regarding Company X's acquisition of Company Y, blah, blah, blah. And here we have Company X acquires Company Y, a top site for finding flexible employment as a purchase. I mean, it sounds boring just reading it right now. And then here's the pitch, Company X bought Company Y. I mean, what is that? That's exactly what I told you not to do, which is my business did something that I think is everyone wants to know about. And, nobody really cares about Company X buying Company Y, and especially if you do it in such a boring way. So I say use a little humor, make it interesting, have a unique angle, make it personal, and that's going to work. And then the best thing about it is if you get someone to bite and they do a story about you, you can use it forevermore in your marketing and on your in your business. You post a video. You'll say you got a TV station do a story about you. You post that clip on your homepage. Boy, the news has followed you. That's fantastic. It's the best advertising you could get. You get someone to write a story about you. You post it on your website, right? Or you make prints of it and you put it in your store window, that kind of thing. That kind of verification from a news source is so credible. It's going to tell everyone else that your business is good and it is interesting and it is worthy of their consideration, and that's going to rise you above the din that I talked about when we started, and therefore we're going to get more business. So PR, one of the great ways to do shoestring marketing, and costs you nothing but your time. Your time is valuable and time is money, but it doesn't cost you anything out of pocket, and we do like that. All right, so let's go on to part 2, which is some online shoestring strategies, right? We all love online strategies. And I'm not going to just tell you to buy ads on websites because that's not a shoestring idea. That's just an idea. All right, so let's look at some shoestring online ideas. Number 6, Craigslist. And you're like, Craigslist? I'm like, yeah, Craigslist. We love Craigslist for all sorts of reasons, but think about it. Who reads the classifieds? Who goes to Craigslist? Well, somebody's ready to buy something right now, right? That's pretty much the only time someone goes on to Craigslist. They need to post something, they're hiring somebody for something, or they're selling something and you want to buy it, right? So you go to Craigslist to buy something and you're ready to buy something right now. So if you position your business in that space, you're going to be getting those eyeballs of people who are looking to buy things right now. And one of the things we love about Craigslist is it's either free, or if you have to place an ad, it's very, very inexpensive. So I have a picture here of a mobile notary. I know a guy who started a business. He couldn't spend a whole lot of money. And how does he get business? He puts the Craigslist ad up every day. So he does that for a couple reasons. One, it keeps his ad fresh and near the top of the list. Well, actually, this is the main reason. It keeps his ad fresh and at the top of the listings, right? Because there's so many ads that come in and come in and come in on Craigslist. 18 hours later, yours is near the bottom. So and that's how he gets all of his business. Mobile notary on the notary section of Craigslist. Doesn't cost him anything. He gets business, and he's created a business for almost nothing. You want to have a great headline. You want to do it every day. If you can add a photo, that's better. People pay attention for sure on Craigslist to ads that have photos. If you have some kind of referral or recommendation from clients that you can list, that's great, because one of the things about Craigslist is people want to be safe, of course, and they want to know that the person they're buying from is credible. So the more you can establish credibility on your ad, the better you're going to do. If you had your PR in place and somebody wrote a story about you and you can mention that on your Craigslist ad, wow, it's all fitting together. All right. Make it easy for someone to buy something from you. Make it safe for someone to buy something from you. And I have this guy, the Classified Millionaire Secret. There used to be a guy on TV who would say, a tiny little classified ad can make you $1 million. Some people might remember that campaign. And I finally thought to myself, how could a tiny classified ad make me $1 million? So I bought the guy's package for $39.95, which is, I guess, how he made his $1 million, right? And what did he tell you to do? He said, find a classified ad that works, test it small, and if it works, roll it out big, roll it out nationwide if you can. That one little ad, if it makes you $10 a week in your city, can make you $40 a month in your city, and you roll it out nationwide, and all of a sudden, you're bringing in buku bucks. So, there's a little bit of truth to that. It's a little harder to do on Craigslist, but a tiny little classified ad on Craigslist can be a very effective tool for making you some money. Okay, e-newsletters. Now, we are with my friends from Vertical Response, and they are the best at e-newsletters, among other things. And I love e-newsletter advertising. In fact, at my own site, in which Vertical Response is a sponsor, the selfemployed.com, you can go to the marketing section and see Vertical Response. We have an e-newsletter called Small Business Success Secrets, and we, love it. And there's all sorts of great things about e-newsletters aside from e-marketing, but let's talk about that for a second. One is, it's opt-in, right? Will you opt in? One of the greatest things about creating your own e-newsletter, it is this. It is permission-based marketing. Now, how often in your marketing do people give you permission to market to them? Not very often, right? And everything we've talked about here today, none of it is permission-based. None of it is someone saying, yeah, I'd like to hear more from you. It is you saying, hey, I got a great business via PR or via co-op advertising or via overnight radio. But e-newsletters are unique. And they're unique because people opt in to get your e-newsletter, and then you're allowed to market to them. You give them great information. Content is king, but they're giving you permission to market to them on a consistent basis, at least to interact with them, and that is incredible. I tell you to remember the 80-20 rule, and that is because the 80-20 rule in business generally says that 20% of your customers create 80% of your business. And if you think about that in your business, it's probably true, but I think the same thing applies to your content marketing, to your e-newsletter, and that is 80% of your e-newsletter should be about them. Let's say you own a restaurant. You want to have recipes, and you want to have recommendations, and you want to have an article about what wine goes with, what, and, why creme brulee is the greatest dessert ever, whatever it is. And then if you do that, if you give great content about them 80% of the time, then 20% of the time you can talk about your business. You can talk about your special, the sale you're going to have, the weekend deal you got going on, whatever it is. We also love emails because they get forwarded on. So in that sense, they are the new word of mouth advertising. We all love word of mouth, but today I think word of click is more appropriate than word of mouth. If someone takes your e-newsletter and passes it on to someone else, forwards it on, boy, that's the best kind of word of mouth you can get today. One other idea with regard to e-newsletters is you can advertise in other e-newsletters. So, for example, I get an e-newsletter called Speaker Net News, which is for speakers. And there's lots of people who want to sell different systems and products to speakers. And speakers all over the country, I suppose all over the world, get this e-newsletter. And so it's, I would say it's chock full, but it's got some very good ads in there that I always find interesting. And what's great about it is it's not going to cost you a lot to advertise in the right e-newsletter because, it doesn't go out to, as opposed to a TV show, a million people. So you're not paying for all those eyeballs. But the eyeballs you are paying for, this is what I talked about at the beginning, are very specific. These are people who want to hear about speakers, right? Or, restaurants or food or whatever, it is your business is, or, maybe you have a bridal shop and you find a great, you go to the knot.com, whatever it is. Find an e-newsletter that specifically targets your market. It's not going to cost you a lot to advertise in it because, again, you're not getting it out to a lot of people, but the people you do get it out to, one, have opted in, and two, are very specific. So e-newsletters, making your own is the best. Vertical response makes it really easy to do so. And advertising in someone else's e-newsletter is a pretty good idea that works very well. Okay, so let's talk about social media. I mentioned word of mouth, and I think social media is kind of the word of mouth today. It is the word of click today. And I have not the pros and cons of social media. I actually have the cons and pros of social media. Because why? Because often we feel like this when we do our social media, right? Kind of like, is it, especially when you're doing social media marketing, how do you know? Is it paying off? Is it worth your time? Do I need a Facebook page? Where do I start? Where do I end? It can be very aggravating. So I do think there are cons and pros when it comes to social media. The downside of the coin is that it is time consuming. One, you have to spend sometimes well over an hour or 3 hours a day on your social media. And two is it takes months and months to see a return on your social media efforts. Two, you can have nebulous results. And three is, you can mistake, and lots of people do this, myself included, you mistake activity for results. You're on Facebook for an hour, and you think you're marketing your business, and really all you're doing is checking the status of your buddies and, watching some different videos of cats or something. All of a sudden you wasted 2 hours, and that was not marketing time, right? We've all been there. So how do you make social media work? Well, there's a couple of things you can do, and the first thing I would suggest is that you pick one platform, all right? And then you don't pick the one that you like best, but you pick the one that your customers like best. Now, it may be Facebook because everyone seems to be on Facebook these days, but not necessarily. One of the things I've seen in research recently is that if you're a professional and you want to establish yourself as a thought leader, as they say, or get clients, Twitter is often very, very good for that. If you have a retail establishment, Facebook is great. You can have coupons, you can have specials, you can have contests, easy to do on your Facebook, fan page. But it's great for all sorts of reasons. One, it helps you brand yourself, right? So if you're on Twitter and you're tweeting a lot of valuable information, again, using the 80-20 rule, you're going to get people to follow you, and you're going to establish yourself and create a brand. If you're on Facebook and you're offering great content, like, for example, on the self-employed, on my website, we have a great Facebook page, and we have contests, and we have sayings and placards, and a pretty engaged community that likes reading about self-employment, about being self-employed and doing it on their own. And so we try and give them a bunch of information, right? And that's what you got to do on your Facebook page. Give them valuable information. It brands you as a business to look to. You create new relationships. The person who taught me about Twitter taught me that it's not about getting 10,000 Twitter followers. It's about meeting people that you otherwise normally wouldn't meet. It's about meeting new people, right? Because you can meet people online in social media that you can't meet in your offline world. How valuable is that. It's really quite incredible. It is quote unquote free, although it does take your time. And as I say, it is word of mouth advertising. When someone forwards your e-newsletter on, that's word of mouth. It's word of click. When someone retweets your tweet, what's that? That's word of click. Right? When someone likes your Facebook page, what is that? That is word of click. So we all love word of mouth advertising. If you want people to give you some social media juice, some online, credibility and buzz, then you have to create some great content. At least, link to some great content, make it interesting and valuable, and get people to share it with their people, because it is, for good or ill, the age of sharing. It is definitely the age of oversharing, but I digress, and I'm not going to go on a rant about that. All right, number 9, pay-per-click. So pay-per-click is fantastic. And what's pay-per-click? Well, you go to Google, and you do a search, and you see some regular results, these are called the organic results. And of course, you see the little ads, the little box ads off to the right. You can see that with Bing as well. You can see it on Facebook. There's ads. You're paying per click. What we love about pay per click advertising is, as opposed to traditional media, you're not just buying a bunch of, you're not spending a lot of time for eyeballs that aren't interested in you. You're only paying when someone likes your ad enough that they've seen it and they read it and they click on it. Once they click on it, then you'll pay for it. But that's a great thing, because that's a targeted lead. So I mentioned Chris Johnson. This is a photographer who wanted to grow his wedding business. He decided he's going to do some ads on Facebook. So he went onto Facebook, went into their advertising space, and bought, I think, a $700 or $800 ad buy. And he was very smart about it, because what he did was he only advertised to women in his geographic area whose status was engaged, right? So that's pretty fantastic. And he made $40,000, because the only people who were really interested in what he was doing would do it. So that's fantastic. Now, what you don't want to do what Steve Strauss did, which is do an ad for small. I'm a small business speaker, so for small business speakers. And what happened was, people who were looking for these things, small business speakers, kept clicking on my ad, and I paid a lot of money for people who had no interest in what I was doing. So learn how to do it right. Figure out the right service, whether it's Google or Facebook or Yahoo or whatever. Set a budget. You can do $20 a day or $50 a day or $10 a day, and then place your ad and tweak it. See which ads pull, see which ads don't, and you're gonna get definitely people who are interested in what you're selling. If you have the right ad, it can end up being the Chris Johnson story, not the Steve Strauss story, and make you a lot of money, hopefully. All right, we've got a couple more ideas here. Some one-on-one marketing shoestring strategies. Number 10, personal letters. Okay, now George H.W. Bush, President 41, the dad, often says that one of the reasons he got elected president is because he wrote thank you notes to everyone. He wrote tens of thousands of thank you notes, personalized thank you notes. Now, in this era, especially in this era of e-newsletters and e-marketing and email and everything's online, that's great and powerful and valuable. It's where everything's trending. But the power of a personal note, using snail mail, cannot be forgotten, because people will remember it. I knew a lawyer once who wanted to open a new area of practice, so he got his list of all of his old customers together, and he wrote out a letter, typed it up, and then made it personal to each one, sent it out to about 150 old clients saying, hey, I'm going to open this new area of practice, wills and trusts, and if you know anybody who needs some estate planning, please keep me in mind. And he grew his business with that one letter by 124%. So that's pretty amazing, right? So letters really work. You can announce something new. If you can hand address your letters to your direct mail to people, that's even better, because people tend to open letters that are hand addressed. Snail mail works in this way. And PS. Now, did you notice how you always just pay attention to the PS? People pay attention to the PS for whatever reason. So put your call to action, put your special offer in your PS, and it works. Number 11, last couple ideas, direct mail. What's direct mail? That's when you send out a mass mailing to a bunch of people and you want to get them to open it. Inside you have a flyer or a letter or an offer or whatever it is. We all get direct mail all day long. So you want to have a good list. Either you create it the best way to do it is create it on your own. Get people to opt in to your list, and you'll mail to them. And then you want to get people to open your envelope. Now, you can't really see with this thing, but a hand-addressed envelope works. A chunky envelope, if you have maybe a pen in there or a doodad, a keychain, something, people will tend to open that. You grab their attention. You give them some incentive. You write a letter in. P.S. You always use a P.S. But you might get a 5% response rate on your mailing, but hey, if your 5% response rate gets a bunch of new sales or some new customers, it's not going to cost you a lot of money because really the mail still is a pretty good deal. People still open it every day, and if you can get them to open your envelope. So again, I really suggest you try and avoid computerized addresses. If you can do that, you're going to get people to open your letter, and you're going to get some new business. And finally, gift cards and gift receipts. This is the most popular present of all today. In all of the America, gift cards, and you can tell, right? You go to the market, what do you find? Racks and racks and racks of gift cards. Why? Because they're popular. And why are they popular? They work. People like giving them. It's for whatever reason, a popular item now. So jump on the bandwagon, right? If that's what people are doing, we can do it too. One of the great things about being a small business is the big businesses figures out what works. They have MBAs and lawyers and smart people figuring out marketing, and they do it, and then we can just do what they do. So they figured out gift cards work, then we can use that. Offer your own gift card or gift certificate. First of all, 20% are never redeemed. Okay, so there's a little profit right there. 80%, this is the stat I like, 80% are redeemed for more than their value, and 40% are redeemed for more than twice their value. Now, how incredible is that? So you sell someone a gift card, they give it to their brother for his birthday, whatever the case may be, comes in, uses it, and buys more. So it's a word of mouth referral, right? Because someone's getting a gift card saying, hey, I want you to go buy something at this store. I think it's a great store. 2 is a new person comes in, they're a customer, they use the gift card, and they'll buy something more, and then you can, create a new friend and a new customer. So gift cards, one other way to really save money, make business, and have a good time in your business. So there are a dozen different ways. I'm happy to take questions now, and thank you so much.